Hi there, Valerie Chodine here to show you the Mid-Century Modern Circle Patterns Mask by Stencil Girl Products. So here it is, and I'm going to put it down in my 8.5 by 12-inch journal here, and you can see it just fits almost exactly on the page. I'm going to stencil with watercolor, and I spritzed it, misted it with water, and now I'm testing the sponge out. I have just the right amount of water on this sponge. What I found is you can actually just wipe the color onto the stencil with watercolor and a sponge if your sponge is not too wet or you don't have too much paint on the sponge. It's also if your sponge is not too dry. So it takes a little bit of practice, but once you get it, it's so incredibly easy to stencil with watercolor, especially on plain paper like this. I love it. So this can be, as you see, an overall pattern for a background or something like that, or just to add some pattern and color to your pages or artwork. It can also be layered, or you can use parts of this. So I will show you those as well in this video. Here are both sides done in the same manner, just flipping the stencil around. And here are also some pages done with parts of that same stencil. On the corners here, as you see, or just as a background that I'll write on the top and the bottom. So it can also be a design element. You can layer the Mid-Century Modern Circle Patterns stencil on top of this Mid-Century Modern Circle Patterns mask. And now I'm going in on top of the pages that I already stenciled that you just saw, and some of these patterns fit exactly onto the mask to add color. Here you can see where I'm setting them down where they layer right on top, but it's really easier just to watch me paint it. So let's do that. Okay, doing the same thing, spritzing my watercolor paints, getting my sponges out, and now I'm going to sponge and do a kind of shading type of effect on these stencils that are layered on top of the mask. I'm using quinacridone gold here first, and then I'm going to go in with some orange red. So the colors I'm using are quinacridone gold, I use teal for the background, and some orangey red, I think it's permanent red light or orange, and then also Payne's gray and metallic gold. For this bright, sunny, happy pattern here, I'm using diarylide yellow. It's a golden yellow color, kind of like the color of a sunflower. So that will be my base, and then I'll go in with some orange to make it really sunny. And now for the gold star in the middle. I really like these metallic gold paints, and it gives just the sparkle and shine that I want for the center star of my sun. As I wait for the water to activate the metallics, I'm going to go in with some other colors, layering these other stencils on top of the mask. Another thing that you can do, I'm cutting out the pieces so I'll have a bunch of smaller patterns that I can stencil with. I have some circle gel plates and these fit on there. I put the stencil on the gel plate and then rolled acrylic paint on the gel plate with a brayer, then carefully lifted up the stencil to take it off the gel plate, and then I printed it on the paper, either by turning the gel plate over, but mostly I just put the paper on top of the gel plate with the paint and I rubbed it very gently but firmly, and that printed on the paper. Thank you for joining me for this video and layering of these stencils. To see more of what you can do with the mid-century modern circle pattern stencil, check out the Stencil Girl page on that stencil, and also visit my blog and website at ValerieShodine.com.